Welcome back to Bash Bros and episode 7 of Notorious Pro Wrestling, where we find out what would happen if Conor McGregor started his own wrestling company. This is the second time I recorded this intro because I forgot to press record last time. But that's okay. So, what is happening outside of the ring? At the minute, only a little bit of news, which is that Chris Sharp, one of our referees, is currently negotiating a contract extension with NXT UK. This could possibly mean that we are going to lose a referee. Now, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a big deal. If we were to lose a referee, he's easily replaceable. There are guys on our roster, such as Kenny Williams and the Grizzled Young Vets, that if we lost, they'd be a bit more of a pain in the ass. So this is kind of the short list of referees who are equal to Chris, or roughly in the same area as Chris, as referees. So if we kind of look down the list here, Artemis isn't going to happen. She's exclusively signed to NXT UK. Chris Roberts, I wouldn't sign due to him having the sleazy personality. The speaking out movement that happened tail end of 2020, where the entire UK scene was exposed, UK wrestling scene was exposed as kind of having a very toxic atmosphere, led to a lot of these guys, a lot of the famous of the UK scene being exposed as kind of sexual assaulters and predators. Completely rocked the UK UK wrestling scene. But yeah, it was led to in the game being very difficult to kind of do UK wrestling promotion. It's actually one of the challenges I had whenever when I started this, and I ended up having to try and get a roster and having to avoid all the toxic guys. If you start with NXT UK in this, it is nothing. Half of their roster is toxic now because of that speaking out movement. So we would avoid Chris Roberts. Chris Sharp is the guy who might be leaving. There's no point looking at that. James Maritato, also formerly known as Nunzio, he's definitely someone we can pick up. He's got 61 refereeing, which is equal to... so he's not as good as Chris, but that's still decent. John Cone, we won't be able to get. We already have Niall Fox. Rudy Charles won't be able to get, and we already have Steel. So we would probably go for James or Nunzio, and we would definitely rename him the Nunzio because it's a far cooler name. But that's only if Chris Sharp ends up signing exclusively to NXT UK. That's it for news, so let's get to booking the show. Our last show, the go-home show before the Obsession pay-per-view. So no incidents happening backstage. In terms of where we will be, so it was up the Black Box 240. Let's go back to the Ringside Club. We haven't been there for a wee bit, so go to the Ringside Club, and I will see you on the other side of me booking this. We are back. So I've booked the show here. I haven't had to relegate anything down to the pre-show in terms of the kind of running storylines, so it should be okay. I am a wee bit hesitant about the main event. I don't know if Curtis Axel and James Storm will be able to kind of get as high as they need to, but we'll see. Yeah, all we can do is just run the show, so we'll do that. Alright, so starting the show. So although it isn't a heel versus heel or face versus face match, I just need to try and push through some of the P12 stuff because some of the stuff is dragging behind. So Doug Williams versus Nathan Cruz, 49 versus a 32 in performance, and it came out with a 41. A bit disappointing, but considering it was a short match, I would have thought Doug might have been able to pull Nathan Cruz to a slightly better match, but that's okay. It's on the pre-show, and it's just more just to burn through some of the P12 matches. Pre-show by Great Heat and Good Wrestling, Hero beat Rob Lynch, and so they didn't click, and it was short, which is fine. We knew it was going to be short. Hero had a good performance, so like 50. With that much red text in the report and still getting a 42, I will take. So that's grand. After the match, then Chris Hero kind of calls out Conor McGregor, and it's just like, I have gotten a clean sweep through this entire thing. Just announce me as the winner of my block already. And Conor's just like, no, you're going to wrestle your final match, just like everyone else has to. This is kind of setting up for the fact that I want Chris Hero and Conor McGregor to have a match at some point. I don't just want to put Conor McGregor into everything and have him automatically have a good match, because he's so over, that will automatically put up the rest of the match rating, that just seems a bit it seems very cheap and not the way I want to do things. But having him wrestle as like a special attraction feature, I would 100% do. I think Chris Hero was like the perfect guy to kind of have that first match with. So this is just to plant the seeds a wee bit, you know. On to the main show then. So Stevie Boy versus Ace Austin. And Stevie Boy won with a Canadian Destroyer following a Kenny Williams interference. So it's kind of the running theme of this entire feud is that Ace and Kenny are so focused on each other, but Stevie's racking up all these wins, and because he's picking the scraps of these two, beating the crap out of each other. So Stevie gets another win there. So 45 from Ace Austin and a 36 from Stevie Boy. I think Ace is still going to win the blow off because his performance is just so fantastic. Like, he is, when the guy is pulling out a 45 even though he's losing and he's still in his 20s, he's going to be a future star regardless. So that's the way that I think the Ace will kind of win the blow off of this feud. So after the match, Williams and Ace are beating the shit out of each other, and Stevie Boy is just looking on and laughing, loving, reveling in the fact that he's getting all this momentum while these two are just kicking the crap out of each other. On to the kind of the throwaway match. So the Cyborg Wolves beat the NIC in 7:46 with Lycos Jr. getting the pin. So Lycos got a 42. Sorry, Junior got a 42, Lycos got a 49, and the NIC guys got 32 a bit. They debuted their gimmicks. Oshin Delaney got an adequate, and Charlie Carter got a great. I'm going to update their picture packs actually, because they're quite old pictures to kind of represent that they kind of have like this like gladiator-esque gimmick now, I suppose. Oshin Delaney and Charlie Carter got tag team specials bonus, which was good to see. 36 is not a great result for that, but I was with these guys debuting and they're not particularly over, and the Cyborg Wolves, like, although they're having good performances, they aren't particularly over still. I'll take 36, no problem. Afterwards then, the Wolves call out Kings of the North. They're like, they want one more match. Like, they know they can beat them. Kings of the North are like, yep, sweet, we'll face you if we get to pick the stipulation, and they pick a cage match, which will then happen at the pay-per-view. James Storm cuts a promo then next and says he's sorry about Axel's damn luck. You know, typical James Storm promo. Got a 41, which is good. And then the match overall, so had great wrestling and good heat. Storm beat Axel in 20:02. 49, I'll take. Actually, I'll really take that, considering so Axel got a 46 and James Storm got a 50, so that's pretty much, they didn't outperform, but they definitely put in the performance that they need to, so awesome. Again, Axel's proving he's just a really solid hand to have, and James Storm, with his charisma and all, is definitely main event tier for the company at this point. And that was, so we got a 45, which is slightly disappointing, but I thought the 64 of the Connor and Hero promo might help boost that up, but probably because it was on the pre-show, it didn't, or it didn't affect it as much. So 45, slightly disappointing, but still, I'll take it. We still increased our popularity everywhere. So looking at the fallout then, after our wanted tapings. So TNT, which is one of our local rivals, had their Merseyside Massacre, drew 266 fans, which is more than we draw with one of our pay-per-views. What was the rating of that show? A 62. Wow, 62 is really good actually. 62 is really good for this level. So what they have, Mark Haskins beat El Fantasmo, 66. Easton Reese versus Gunn, 53. They had a really solid show all around. Wow. 60. Just double checking. It's 62. Did that beat our last pay-per-view? Yeah. So that did. We got a 49 and they got a 62. So we got a bit of work to do. We want to catch them. Oh, I don't even think we could get a 62. With the way that we are currently, I'm not sure we get a 62 unless I just spammed Conor McGregor segments and matches there the entire night. Wow, that gives us something to aim for. That's what I want for the Obsession pay-per-view, which we're coming up to now. I want to get a 62. We can do. I believe that we can do it. Looking to the male so there's still been no update on Chris Sharp and his extension, and we got it's increasing. The viewership is definitely going up. Maybe it's just the first 2 digits that are going up, but it's definitely going up. But other than that, oh no, sorry, I forget this every time. Let's take a look at the standings for P12. So Davey Boy has 1 match left, Doug Williams has 1 match left, Easton Reese has 2 matches left, Jody Fleisch, 2 matches left, Zach Gibson 3. So I am thinking Zach Gibson versus Easton Reese for the pay-per-view final match, or pay-per-view main event. Zach Gibson has proved he can kind of go, and Easton Reese has proved he can go. So I'm thinking those 2. So that's my thought process. On Block B then, so yeah, Chris Hero, obviously he still has to have his final match, but he's had a clean sweep, so no one can really catch him, which is grand. Curtis Axel has 2 matches, Grado 2 matches, James Drake 3, Jim Storm 2, and Rob Lynch 2. So the Grizzly Young Vets will both definitely need to wrestle next time round, or for the pay-per-view. And yeah, so I think that'll be the main event, will be Easton Reese versus Zach Gibson. I don't know why I say this, because every time I go to make these plans, by the time I go to book it, everything's already up in the air from people being booked elsewhere. But we'll see how it goes. But that is it for this episode of Notorious Pro Wrestling. So next time you will be back for the Obsession pay-per-view, where we have Kid Lycos and Lycos Jr. versus Kings of the North in a tag team cage match, and also the triple threat of Ace Austin versus Kenny Williams versus Stevie Boy, as well as the continuation of the P12 tournament as we ramp up to the final. Thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you next time on Bash Bros.